everyone. My
Hi,
name is Elizabeth, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and my pronouns are she and her.
and my name is Papillon or Poppy, and I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor, and my pronouns are they, them. And this is a little intro we did for our training called Anti Racist Counseling in Action. And we're just going to tell you a little bit about it.
Yeah. So we've got it in 5 different sections, which Poppy's going to tell you the name of. But we wanted to make sure that we did a little intro for people who might have different expectations about what a training looks like, what happens during a training. Our style, it's pretty much going to be like this. You're going to be watching us have a conversation. It's not I know there are more didactic trainings out there where there's like a PowerPoint and a slideshow, and we are going to have some bits of information at the bottom of the page or sometimes encompassing the whole page, but it's not going to be just slides. It's going to be like you're a fly on the wall having a conversation with us.
Mhm. Yeah. And so the 5 sections are called number one, intersectionality and identity. And in this one, we talk about intersectionality, we talk about our identities and why it's important to unpack these pieces personally before we get into the room with
Mm-hmm.
clients. Do you want to say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we just talk a little bit about how each of our own identities and intersections have impacted our relationships with clients. You really get like a bit of a peek into our own minds and how we work as counselors throughout this whole thing. We wanted it to be quite personal
Mhm.
because we're talking about what does inaction mean, and it means how are Poppy and I going into sessions with clients. So um, you really get a sense of what we are doing, what we may have just gotten done doing this morning with our
Mm-hmm.
clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we invite you to unpack your intersections as well.
Mm-hmm.
And another reason that we do this is there are a lot of ways in which who we are in the room is going to impact our clients, even if it's not something we name
Mm-hmm.
or something that we've examined.
Yeah.
So it's important to examine.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So that's section one. Section two is white supremacy in action. And
Mm-hmm.
it's looking at a lot of the principles or tenets of white supremacy.
Yep. Yep. We unpack a document that is really dear to my heart. And we kind of go into each of the ways that white supremacy culture impacts the way that we show up in the world, the way that we show up with clients, the way we show up with colleagues, and the impact that that may have on our clients.
And we also take a look at our own intake
Mm-hmm.
forms, specifically ours,
Mm-hmm.
from this lens and make some suggestions as far as things to consider
Mm-hmm.
including or clearing out of your intake forms and other paperwork.
Mm-hmm. And we really do use our own intake forms. We did unedited. We just
Uh-huh.
traded. So
Yep, we just rolled with it.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Section three is our ethics and white supremacy, where we look at our ethical codes, the social worker code and the counselor code, from this lens of white supremacy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We talk about how white supremacy culture impacts the way that we carry out some of our ethics, how we make ethical decisions in a nation that was founded on white supremacy and continues to embody white supremacist values, and what we can do to diverge from that path a little bit and still behave in an ethical manner, which plot twist is pretty hard sometimes.
Yeah. And in that section, we talk about some practical things as well, such as like using a sliding scale
Mm-hmm.
for BIPOC clients, and specific ways to be an anti-racist counselor and kind of what that means.
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to be doing? What do we need to be thinking and saying in order to legitimately refer to ourselves as an anti-racist counselor?
Yep, you get to hear us have some discussions on that and figure it out on the way, which I think is this journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And section four is talking about race in session. So, how do we actually bring it up? How do we
Mm-hmm.
do this? Why is it important to talk about race in session?
Mm-hmm. Yep, we go into how to initiate these conversations, what to do if you would like to initiate one and you haven't yet, what to do if you are in the weeds, like if you find yourself in a conversation, don't know where to go,
Mhm.
how to respond when a client says something you might agree with or might not agree with, how to survive what feels like a personal attack. Um, yeah,
Mhm.
offering some suggestions on some practical tools to move forward.
Yeah. There are a lot of great workshops out there that will teach about terms like white fragility, white privilege, intersectionality, all these things. And we're trying to really get into, well, what can we do? How do we show up? What's the work that we can do on ourselves? What's the work that we can do in session?
Yeah, for the people who said, okay, did all of these trainings, learned all these terms. Now what? What does that look like in my session with my clients? We really wanted to be able to provide people with an opportunity to take some of the things they learned in this training and then go into their session this afternoon and be able to apply it with their clients right away.
Yeah, in action.
Mm-hmm.
Section 5 is called Dear Cassandra.
Uh-huh.
And we basically take a kind of hateful letter that Elizabeth received, and we break down and unpack a lot of the racist cliches that are in it, because you're going to encounter those too.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to offer some foundation to be able to combat these things.
Mm-hmm. Nailed it.
Thanks. So the training is like this. It's personal. We get personal. We may or may not drop some F bombs in it. And I've always found this kind of training just to be more relatable and more interesting and engaging, even if it's in video. If I feel like I'm being taught by humans who are being human and stumbling over their words occasionally and sharing personal, relevant stories.
Mm-hmm.
So this is pretty much what it's going to be like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I think I've done a better job in this intro than I have in other sections, but really embracing that, like, uh, that perfectionism is a myth. And so there's a lot of silence. Sometimes there's like, oh, did I mean to say that? Let me
I
say
feel
this
like I'm
again. Am I
rambling.
real? Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of that because I think I think that's what makes it personal.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We're real people and we're going to talk about some real shit. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so you're aware the video quality is going to differ a little bit section to section because we're playing around with different cameras, but the quality of the training remains superb. Yeah.
Yep. Yep, they've been wanting to say that for weeks since they came out with that phrase. Yeah. Yeah.
Just call me out in the commercial, why don't you?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I hope this helps you. We hope this helps you decide whether or not this is the right training for you, because it might not be. You might be someone who prefers a different style of training, and that's absolutely okay. But we didn't want people to be like, oh, this is two people sitting on a couch talking, lame, and then move on to something
totally
else. Yeah.
And we've broken them down into sections so you can just take it bit by bit. You can do one or two, or you can do all of them. It's up to you. But thanks for your consideration, and we look forward to your feedback.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.